You'll mute me out, I'm assuming. Will you do all the controlling on my end?
No, I will not be able to mute you. So you'll have to,
Okay.
because I'm to somebody else. And the time starts now for you.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much. It's morning here. I know it's evening there in India, but I am so excited to be with you all with the Women's Economic Forum. And so my topic, resilience in the time of uncertainty. And I want to talk for the time that has been allotted to me from the thought, you may bend, but you won't break. You may bend, but you won't break. So I'm a mom of three sons. My first son, my oldest son, he loved to box. And so my husband and I, we decided to get him a Bop'em Sock'em. Now, let me describe to you this toy. It was just simply designed to pop up every time my son would hit it. Every time he hit it, it would pop right back up. And as I thought about my presentation today, I thought about the times when my son would hit that Bop'em Sock'em, and it didn't matter how many times he hit it, how he hit it, the way he hit it, it would always bounce back up. And that is how it is for each one of us in life. And the whole design for that toy was about what was inside of it. It didn't really have anything to do with its external makeup. It was what was on the inside of it. And so we are on the same track. Let me just tell you what resilience means so that we are on the same track. According to www.dictionary.com, resilience is the power or ability to return to the original form, position after being bent, compressed, or stretched. That was the first definition. The second one says the ability to recover readily from adversity. I love that, to recover readily. The ability to go back to your original form after you've been bent. And that is exactly what happened with this Bop'em Sock'em. No matter what it hit it, it would always bounce back to its original form, its original setting. And that's how it is for you and for me, that no matter what hits us, whether it's illness, whether it's financial difficulty, it doesn't matter what it is, we have the ability to bounce back. You may bend, but you won't break. And, you know, the thing of it is, in life, it's one of those kinds of things where some situations you can see coming, and then others, you just get hit out of nowhere, it seems like. You get blindsided. And so that's where we find ourselves today, kind of in this pandemic, blindsided by it, not seeing it coming. And sometimes it's like that in our lives as well, when we lose a loved one unexpectedly or something tragic happens to us. And we feel like we just are not going to be able to bounce back to our normal or bounce back to a place of strength and a place of fortitude from the inside. But that's what I want to tell you today, that you have everything on the inside of you to bounce back. You may bend, but you won't break. And so I want to leave you with three ways that you can use to enhance your resiliency in times of uncertainty. And then the first one is remember. It is important for us to remember all that we have already gone through. I like to call them the faith files and the holy highlights. That's what I like to call them. But the fact of the matter is, we all have experiences in our lives that cause us to look back to see just how strong we were, to see that if we made it back then, we certainly can make it today. And so that is what I want you to always think about. Remember what you've already come through. And that's going to give you the strength and the inner fortitude, just like that Bop'em Sock'em, that no matter what hits you, you may bend, but you won't break. So that's number one. Remember all of the things that you've already gone through. And then number two, you have to recite over and over again that I can make it. I can come through this. I'm going to make it out of this. And so you have to recite those positive affirmations for yourself to remind you how strong you are, to remind you that you have everything on the inside of you that you need to endure. And that's exactly what we're all doing all around the world now in this pandemic. We are enduring. We're enduring because we have some experiences to pull on to help us to make it through today and in the days ahead. So that's number two, recite those positive affirmations to yourself. And then number three, you have to rejoice. And we have to think about all of the things that are going well for us. We're still here, yes? And even if there have been some people around you who have been sick, and I know people who have been sick who have recovered, and I also know people who have been sick and they passed away. But the reality of it is we have the capacity to help each other. And that is what's most important during this time of uncertainty, that we help each other. And so to that end, I want to just encourage you to always reach out to other people. Reach out to them to let them know that they're not alone, to let them know that you are with them. Because we all feel a bending in our hearts, a bending in our souls, a bending in our spirits. But the reality of it is, there is a force on the inside of all of us that will cause us not to break. And so you might bend during these times of uncertainty, but there is a resilient spirit on the inside of you. There is a power on the inside of you. Woo, I feel that. There is a power on the inside of you that will cause you to stand up under pressure. Yes, that will cause you not to lose your footing to the point that you cannot get yourself back on track. And so I want to thank you for allowing me this opportunity just to interject my spirit and my heart with all of the speakers who've already gone before me and those who are coming behind me. Certainly my partner for this section, Evans Duran. I want to thank you all for allowing me this opportunity just to align my heart with yours, because we're all going through an uncertain time now. But the reality is we have the resiliency to ensure that we make it through. And so thank you all so much. And I appreciate this opportunity. Thank you.
Wow, so you finished way before the time. So thank you, Nicole, for giving a wonderful insight. And I move over to Evans Durian, who is a Christian coach and a keynote speaker, and has been influencing many executives in C-suite and leadership levels with his amazing leadership coaching skills, and he will share more. Over to Evans.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Nicole, it is just an honor to share a stage with you here for a moment. We just met about 8 minutes ago, and that was fantastic. So thank you for that. And I want to say good morning from Good morning from South Carolina. I know there's a lot of people around the world that are attending this conference, and I'm excited to be a part of it. And I think whoever is out there listening, I can't see you right here on my screen, but I appreciate you spending some time with us and give us an opportunity to share our hearts and our thoughts around what it means to be resilient in the face of uncertainty. And it's pretty amazing. As this morning, I had this plan of what I would present and what I would say, and it's funny how things work in time. This morning, I attended some other sessions, and I've already heard some amazing stories of resiliency that had nothing to do with resilience being the topic, right? And so what's incredible to me, as I speak to you as a man in southern U.S., coming to you from an Eastern Standard Time zone, some of us are across the world, there's so many things that the world wants to use to separate us, right? We see separation from the color of our skin, our ethnicities, where we live geographically, the things that divide us from politics and faith and what we do for a living and who's right and who's wrong. And it's pretty astounding to me that even companies that say, hey, we want you to be an individual, but be an individual within our brand. We want to sell you our brand and you be part of our team while you're also an individual. So it's an interesting world in this dichotomy we live in that says, be your own person, but we're going to define that person for you. And if you'll just be that person, we'll tell you who it is, but be part of our brand as well as a unique individual. So I think this conversation around resilience in the face of uncertainty is extremely timely, and I'm grateful for this time here with you. When I think about it, all the things that separate us, it's beautiful when you also look at all the things that bring us together. We talk a little bit about COVID-19, and I know everybody is just sick and talking about the masks and what's right, what's wrong, what are the statistics and the fear, the uncertainty, the doubt that surrounds us. But it is something that unites us and brings us all together as a human race, right? So despite where we are or what we do, what we find is that these troubling times, they don't discriminate on any of us as long as we're part of the human race. So I think there's some comfort and solace in that we can kind of come together. But what I think we have to say is that the term here, resilience in the face of uncertainty, we cannot have resilience without experiencing uncertainty. And uncertainty is one of those things in life that we are certain to experience. So I think it's an interesting dichotomy when we look at it. You know, and it begs the question, what are some examples? And I've found working over the years with people, they say, well, Evans, my story is not important, or who am I? They compare themselves in this media culture that we have. It's a very comparison society that we live in, right? Well, my story doesn't matter, and I'm just this person, and I'm so small in my community and what I do. I'm not rich, I'm not famous, I don't have anything to share with people. And nothing could be farther from the truth, because that story matters. So this morning, as we think about some of the uncertainty we face, I'm going to share some stories with you, personal and non-personal, to kind of get us thinking about those different trials and struggles that we go through. And I want to relate them to storms. So I want you to think about in the back of your mind as I go through these, think about what it means to walk in an uncertain path, thinking we may have a pretty good handle on what we're about to encounter, see, or do, but also understand these are like storms into our lives. Here in the Southeast U.S., he's never been rich, never been wealthy, financially well off. He has a little bit of land, but he's never owned a lot of money and had a lot of things. So what's interesting to me is this man, year after year, for the last 60 plus years, takes an itty bitty seed and he plants it in the ground. And he has to trust and have faith that as he plants that seed over and over and over again, that there's something happening underneath the soil. But there's a measure of uncertainty. Will it rain? Will it be too hot? What will the market bring for those crops? Will he be able to yield a crop that sustains his family? Will he be able to help the community? There are people that are counting on him for jobs, for work. Will he be able to hire and work with these people and give them the ability to provide for their families? He doesn't know. But there's a process in which he trusts beneath the soil that something is transforming, something is happening. In that place, in that time, whatever it's supposed to be, he's putting his faith somewhere. Another story I heard this morning was we had two ladies here at this conference present around what it means to talk about STEM as related to AI. And they talked about so many different things in the last 50, 60 years about science, technology, engineering, and math, and how it's all tied together and given opportunity. And it's led to this rise of artificial intelligence in this this COVID-19 world. And what does that mean? What does it mean for job creation? What does it mean for living out your unique gifts, skills, and talents to do things that are purposeful? Well, then it transformed into another session there, same parallel, same block. And it went to pain, into taking your pain and turning it into something that you can win with, right? One lady spoke about having a health issue growing up, getting ready to get married, and she ran into a situation where somebody was abusive to her and her family, but she turned that pain into something that was a lesson for other people. It was an uncertainty she didn't see. We had another lady this morning who talked about growing up in the foster care system and being adopted. And you watch her career grow and the uncertainties that lay before, but she had something inside that said, I'm going to persevere. I'm going to take this shot. And as Nicole said a few moments ago, when you look at the definition of what it means to be resilient, it's imagine like a spring, and they squish the spring, they squash it, and it keeps getting closer, and all of a sudden it bounces back into shape, right? To be able to be flexible and to be able to be moved back into the state in which you started. And then my own personal uncertainty that I went through a couple of years ago that's near and dear to my heart. One of the biggest storms that's hit in my life was a lawsuit. And this is hard to talk about, especially as a man who says, I'm a Christian motivational speaker, because you hear the word lawsuit and it makes you question, well, what did Evans do? He must be some kind of criminal. Nothing, not at all. I was working for a company and we had a disagreement on whether or not I broke an agreement when I left, and they sued several of us. And for 1 year and 13 days, it consumed my mind, it consumed my heart. I wasn't the best husband, the best father, didn't know what I wanted to do. And all I wanted to do was go dig a hole and sit in it and retreat. I didn't want to talk to God. I didn't want to talk to family. And I was worried about what the world would say about me. I didn't know how I would recover financially. I didn't know what would happen about going to find my clients and earning my business resources back. It was a very uncertain time for a guy who thought he was in control. And I don't know, maybe you've experienced something in these lines of what I've just spoken in your own life, or know somebody else who has. And I think what it does is it really shows to us and proves out that there is going to be uncertainty. It is a fact of life. Like the storms that roll in, we know what's going to happen. So the question is now, well, how do we become resilient? And why are we even able to become resilient? I love listening to Mel Robbins and some of these other speakers that talk about the brain and how it functions in the heart. And if we look at it, the things that are supposed to hurt us, our brains like to tell us to run, right? That fight or flight mode. And what we find is a lot of times we are going to have our bodies and our minds try to move away from the things that could hurt us. But ultimately, some of these things absolutely shape us. There's a piece of scripture that I like. It says, as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. And what's interesting about that is the only thing that sharpens the iron is iron itself. And it goes through the fire, right? So when we look at storms and we look at resilience, I firmly believe that each one of us, every single one of us, regardless of gender, age, preference of anything in this world, whether we like different sports teams, political arenas, whatever it may be, we all have this unique, divinely created heart that we've been given for this unique life to live. And a lot of people don't believe they have it, but they do. They absolutely do. And how do I know that we've all been uniquely, divinely created? Because we have the ability to be resilient despite what the trials and tribulations are. Despite the uncertainties of this world, knowing that's where we're going to encounter, we have the ability, we have the heart, we have the soul. We know that we will encounter it. We have been created to walk through it. It's in our spirit. It's in our spirit. And I'm yet to meet a man, woman around this world who's not encountered a challenge that talks about resilience and the ability to bounce back. It's not always easy, but it's possible. So I want you to take a few things away today as we look at resilience in the face of uncertainty. There's a few takeaways that we have to acknowledge. One, we have to be aware and accept the fact that we sometimes find ourselves in the middle of storms. Sometimes we see these storms coming far away. I think all of us have the ability. We talked about iPhones this morning and smartphones. Out of nearly 8 billion people on the planet, a majority of folks have access to some kind of smartphone. And I look at the weather app all the time. And a lot of these times you can see these storms brewing across the country or from the oceans coming across towards the seaboard. And we know the storm is coming. And we might board up our houses. We might try to take shelter and refuge. But the reality is we can't predict 100% where it's going to get. We can get close. We can try to maneuver. We can try to outrun. We can try to dodge it. But we can't stop that storm from coming into our lives. So what do? We hunker down and we are aware and accept the fact that the storms will be here, and that's okay. They're not here just to break us, but they're here to sharpen us and mold us. So number one, accept that. Number two, dig in your heels. You are not the first person. I'm not the first person. We have not become the first population to go through something terrible in our lifetime. There have been generations before us that have struggled with different things, and this is our struggle today. Everyone on a macro level globally, we're struggling with something right now, something that binds us all together, this COVID-19 piece. On a micro level, some people are losing jobs, others are creating jobs, some are losing loved ones. There's a personal battle that's happening, but each and every one of us is experiencing this world right now in a way that binds us together. Number three, just because the storm comes doesn't mean that you can't rebuild on the other side. A lot of times when I look at my grandfather, for example, when he farms, he needs the rain. He has to have the rain come in order to nourish his crops. He has to have it. And with the rain sometimes comes the wind and the other things that maybe he doesn't want that can rip up from the roots and take that crop out of the field. But the bottom line is he needs the rain. It's a good thing because it helps produce. On the other side of that storm, let's not forget though, you also have the ability to rebuild.
Also, in a minute. If you can
1 minute? Okay, great. There's an opportunity on the other side of that storm to rebuild, and you don't have to build it the same way you did on the front side. So my message today is very simple. I want you to understand that the way your life is defined does not have to be by other people. Too often we let others define the standards, expectations of our life based on what they think we should do. The storms are here to challenge us. They make us question. They build our resiliency. The uncertainties won't stop. But I hope and pray that each and every one of you will continue forward, knowing that on the other side of that storm, you've been given the gift of the Spirit to be resilient. You have been given the gift, skills, and talents to overcome. If you will believe, you will trust, you will hunker down, and you will move forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Evans and Nicolay. You both have been astounding. And really, I relate to everything you both of you spoke about resilience in the face of uncertainty. And you rightly said, without uncertainty, we won't know what resilience is. It's like opposite values complement each other. So without
Yes,
one,
ma'am.
other don't stands out. And I'm really delighted to be moderating your session. And with all my heart, welcome you once again and thank you from the WEF Bangalore team to be a part of this summit. And I have an honor to confer award to both of you. Nicolay, you have been awarded, conferred an award of iconic woman creating a better world for all. And Evans, you are iconic leader creating a better world for all. So you will be digitally, we are giving you this. Um, you will be finding in the e-copy in your emails these awards coming into an email inbox. You can populate it and print it, but that's a gesture of love and affection from the Open Economic Forum team, and we are really honored to have you both here. Have a great day.
Thank you very much.
Be in the platform. You can meet others, network with others. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Namaste from Bangalore.
Namaste.
So you can leave the session now. We can allow the other speakers to come now. Okay, thank you. Nalini, are you there? Can I see you? Can you put on your video and audio? We are live. Okay. We'll wait for Nalini to connect with us and join us for our next session very soon. Hi, Nalini. This is Archana here from the Women Economic Forum team, Bangalore, and we welcome you to the first digital global summit organized by Women Economic Forum, and we are honored to have you. So Nalini Popat is an Indian, but she's an entrepreneur and a poet also. So today she has come to give us insights on the topic lives versus livelihood in the present scenario. So over to Nalini, please. Host, can we have Nalini highlighted? Yes. Hi, Nalini. You'll get 12 minutes to speak.
Is it okay? Yes?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay. Good evening. Namaste, everybody.
Namaste.
Lives versus livelihood in the present scenario. To opt for lives or livelihood, it's a dilemma world is facing right now in the present scenario, where we are faced with the pandemic called COVID-19, the killer virus. We don't even know when the vaccine will come out, whether the virus in mutation will attack those who has become immune to it also. What turn the virus will take, it's a fundamental question, and the countries are trying to find a solution. While the pandemic is on the rise, economy is collapsing. So it's everywhere. The question is how to save lives while sustaining economy and livelihood. It is much the biggest crisis the world has confronted since the Second World War, right? and the biggest economic disaster since the Depression of 1930. The world has come into this moment with divisions among its great powers and incompetence at the highest level of government of terrifying proportions. We will pass through this, but into what? This is just the beginning. When some countries tried to save economy and believed in herd immunity, thousands of lives were lost. A small microbe can do so much damage was beyond imagination. And in such crisis, can economy survive? Then the only solution came as complete lockdown. What India did. Indian government decided to save lives by following complete lockdown. India has brought down its death rate, and according to an influential paper by Neil Ferguson and co-authors of Imperial College London, it has saved 2 million lives. One of the reasons for the lockdown could be that Indian government was not prepared at the beginning of the virus spread of it if its vast population got infected at the time. And to educate people to change their lifestyle to face the virus. Economy became secondary thought. Saving lives was primary. But as soon as government was prepared in terms of hospitals, doctors, nurses, masks, PPE kits, it started looking at reviving the economy. Each country is planning to become self-sufficient. But during the lockdown, the biggest sufferers were laborers, workers, and artisans who lost their jobs, daily workers. And they had to return to their native places where some had farming land, but some were without any resources. Even small and big business houses had incurred huge losses while they had to pay their rent and salaries. So you can say even for us also personally, we own a hotel, but we had to close it down. And we have places given on rent, and they are asking to reduce the rent almost to 50%. So it's not that only small people, everybody has suffered in this. We have construction business, which is completely stopped. So to combat all this, governments in most countries have tried to compensate businesses of their losses. Now slowly, as the graph of COVID-19 is coming down in most countries, it has opened up most of the businesses. But due to public demand, even those countries where the graph is on the rise, they are forced to relax their lockdown. The question has arisen that by temporarily shutting down the economy, is the cure becoming worse than the disease? Until when can we sacrifice? Until can we sacrifice the GDP growth? But in a survey in University of Chicago, they found that any reduction in the lockdown restrictions will result in much deeper long-term economic damage. Why? Because it will result in resurgence of the pandemic with greater violence. Here I want to specially mention, as the world is holding its breath and praying for a miraculous escape from the virus, it is the women leaders and countries like Germany and New Zealand, etc., led by them, who are outdoing others. So these countries have shown the world that if you need something done, tell it to a woman. But on the other side, we see rising numbers of domestic violence across the globe. Across the world, women's independence is silent victim of the pandemic. Lockdown is a disaster on women who always like to show off their beautiful feathers, right? Uh, no parlors, no coffee meets,
Sonalaji,
and no shopping.
since you're a
But
poet,
yes,
since you're a poet, if you would like to recite something that you've written on this topic,
uh,
if you are ready,
sure.
otherwise you can go on talking.
I have to check it because I can't remember.
No problem.
So I will do it. I'll do it. It's on this phone only. So
No, lovely.
yeah, I should have done that. I should have done it. But I write in Hindi
Yeah.
mostly.
You have time, you can continue talking. You have
Sure.
enough time right now. Yeah.
Yes, I'll do that. And since there are more cases of domestic violence, uh, and women, women are the first ones to lose their jobs. So their paid jobs, they turn into unpaid ones of looking after children, looking after the house, whatever they were paying their maids and all till now. Now they are doing that job, and it's not easy, correct? So a statement issued by the Aspen Institute states that saving life lives and saving the economy are not in conflict. Pandemic is coming down in some of the place activity by taking steps to stem the spread of the virus and save lives. So to restore economy, it is necessary to initiate manufacturing, restore jobs in organized as well as unorganized sectors, work from home for companies, and distance education for schools. Bring back laborers, workers to cities by following all the precautionary guidelines laid by government. Social distancing is a must as usage of mask. So the need of the hour is not lives versus livelihood, but lives and livelihood as they both are independent, interdependent, not independent, interdependent on each other. So this is where I end my talk.
Yeah, very interesting, Nalini ji. It's very, you rightly said, it's about not lives versus livelihood, but they go hand in hand, they complement each other. And the
Yes.
nations, not just one nation, they have been in dilemma, the government bodies, everyone's been dilemma as to
Yes.
where to give priority to. And it's an unprecedented time. And you really
Yes.
rightly, very nicely brought about those key aspects about this topic. And I thank you very much for being a speaker here and giving us your valuable insights on the topic. And I'm proud to on the behalf of Women Economic Forum, confer an award especially for you, which is Iconic Woman, who's creating a better world for all. So thank you very much for being in this platform and being with us and giving us insight. See you again soon.
Shall I tell you something about what I'm doing as a poet?
Yes, yes, please.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So we have a WhatsApp group of all the poets, and we come out with our feelings and all. So I am the chairperson of 2-3 poetry group,
Wow.
And we are online. We are arranging poetry meets and everything, and women can really come out with their emotions, what they are suffering right now. They say all that, and we have a doctor, Dr. Naz, and she has been, she's a very good poet, and she has been writing on all her experiences in these times also.
Wow.
And it's beautiful. Like, I wish I had saved one of her for this to read. She writes it very beautiful. So this is how we all come out with our emotions, with our feelings and all. And like, it's a relaxing time for us. We sing also. So this is what we are doing.
Nice. Very nice to hear from you. And I look forward to hearing those poems that you were talking about, not yours, but others that have touched your heart. And look forward to meeting and connecting with you again. So let's all reconnect, reboot, and reset. As you rightly said, thank you so much. Namaste.
Thank you.
You may leave the session now. And here we go to end the session. Thank you. Yeah, leave the session.